Welcome back to the Fantasy Golf Gods podcast. We are your hosts, Rusty Miller and Matt Jacobs.
Hello.
And we're talking playoffs, baby.
Yep, we're here. FedEx Cup Playoffs 2017.
Yep, the Northern Trust
Starting
this
out
week.
at Glen Oaks Club.
Yep. You want to recap last week at the Wyndham?
Yeah, we can go over the Wyndham a little bit. Wasn't real good for me.
No?
I had some doozies. That couple MDFs, which everybody's talking about the MDF.
Yep.
Made cut, did not finish.
Yes.
Which is a whole cluster of who knows what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you want to get those tee times down, and you really only want 72 through the cut, or 70 through the cut, but it is kind of frustrating when you sweat the cut line, and then your guys only get one more round out of it. So
yeah, it does nothing for anybody.
It doesn't. So let's talk. Stinson won. Was the highest price guy, biggest name in the field.
He was projected to win it, and he did. Did you have him in any lineups?
I had him in a couple, not anything that placed because I only got a couple 4 through the cut. Missed a couple there. Just really thought that he had to win to make him worth it. And when he did win, he was worth it to those people, just not to me.
Yeah, I know. I had him in a couple lineups, and he did. Those lineups did okay. I won some cash with 5 players making it through.
And Ollie,
and
your dark horse.
My dark horse, Ollie Shenanigans.
Or Schneider Jans for all you actual golf people.
Yeah, he'll always be Ollie Shenanigans.
Yep. I was hurt last week with James Hahn in a ton of my lineups, missing the cut outright, and then Bill Haas, MDF, and Seamus Powers, MDF, and so
I called Haas from the beginning.
You did.
I was not. I didn't feel like he was going to be one that was going to be there at the end, and he wasn't. You know, it's as we talked a little bit earlier. I go off a lot of gut feelings and just not necessarily what the stats show. And it worked for me this time.
It did.
Might not next time.
No.
But we'll find out.
Well, enough about that crappy field and that tournament. Playoffs.
We're here.
125 guys. So 50-ish of them are going to miss the cut.
Yeah, we're missing a couple guys. I know we're missing Sergio.
Yep.
And Adam Scott, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got the birth of his second child, I think. Sergio... not sure why he's not coming. He doesn't have to. He's going to make it through regardless.
Yep. So the last cut event of the year.
Yes.
Only 3 more tournaments after this one, and they're all non-cut events.
Yep.
So let's dive right in. I'm excited. Let's talk about Glen Oaks. It's a brand new course to the PGA.
Never played it before.
I haven't either.
I want to.
Yeah.
From the rumblings in the golf world, it's very reminiscent of a course down south in Georgia.
Yeah, they do call it the Augusta of the North. So for whatever that's worth, really fine manicured fairways, open sightlines, big white fluffy flash sand bunkers.
It does
undulating greens.
It does have that look. I Google Earthed it, just kind of see the layout and everything. It does have some resemblance of Augusta. The fairways look pretty wide open. There's a couple unique holes.
When you talk about fairways wide open, they lost 1,200 trees in the last couple of years with Hurricane Sandy and Irene.
Yeah, they definitely changed
the
layout.
So they said that opened it up quite a bit more than it used to be. Well, 1,200 trees.
That's a lot of trees.
We'll do that.
Yes.
So, but from all the reports, there are plenty of ways to get in trouble with 60-some bunkers on the course.
Yes, and it's a pretty long course, too. I think it was, playing 7,300 on par 70?
Yep, only 2 par 5s.
And
one par 5 is 625 yards. Not probably reachable for anybody.
It's gonna
unless you have to be.
You might get a couple reaching it. Dustin might. Rory might be able to. I mean, I know the weather's supposed to be pretty good. So the wind's probably not going to be a factor. But I'd be interested to see how many guys actually attempt to go for that one. Like I said, I don't know the course well, so I don't know if there's trouble around that par 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like it's you might have to go for it in one round or two. So it'd be exciting to see once we get it rolling.
And then the other par 5 is reachable for everybody or most everybody in the field. So not a huge advantage to the Bombers there, but being a long course, I think it is going to favor some Bombers. Tournament history, new course. I don't care if it's in the same area. I don't care if it's the first one of the playoffs. Yeah. I don't really put any stock in tournament history into this event.
I feel the exact same way. We haven't played this course. We don't know anything about this course. The players probably know a little bit more than we do at this point.
Sure.
Granted, these are the best players in the world, and they could probably go tear up any course. But I don't care who won last year. I know Patrick Reed won last year. I feel pretty strongly about him, but it has nothing to do with last year's history or anything like that. So I agree. Course history is not something I'm looking at.
Or tournament history.
Our tournament history, past history of this.
Right.
This event is not something I'm looking at all this week.
So the last thing I wanted to touch on the course was the reports. The interview I saw with the superintendent obviously talked about the Augusta influences, but it also talked about a ton of trouble left on a lot of the holes. Like out of the 14 holes that aren't par 3s, 9 or 10 of them have trouble left. Yeah. Trees, water, bunkers, something.
Yes, I noticed that on the. I was looking at the Google Earth on my phone earlier, and I could tell there were definitely some out of bounds left that basically encased the course in a square, and any holes that lined that were out of bounds left. And there was some water that's going to bring in out of bounds left. So if you have a player that's going left a lot, you might reconsider that because it's going to be dangerous and can bring in some big numbers.
Okay. I did forget, Glen Oaks is a 27-hole course.
Yes.
So they name them the red, white, and blue. And so they're going to take a mixture of the red and white and make the front 9. So you're going to have some holes of each course, and then the back will be all of the blue. Okay. So even if you played this course, you haven't played it in the order until this week that they're going to play it in. So again, no course history, no tournament history. So let's dive into recent form and who we think and what stats we are looking at for this week based on what limited knowledge we know.
So right off the bat, question for you. Knowing that it's a little bit longer course, fairways seem to be a little bit wider. Are you favoring Bombers?
Yeah. I've already done all of my lineups. So looking at that, thinking back, I do have a lot of Bombers.
Yeah.
And half the guys on tour are Bombers now. So
your driving distance is way up.
So I mean, unless you're looking at shorter guys like Paul Casey, who still gets it out there, right?
I think Poulter's my shortest guy.
And I mean, he's no slouch.
No.
He's not Jim Furyk or Corey Pavin. So
no, he's not.
So I mean, these guys all hit it, but. Yeah, 7,300 on a par 70 is pretty long.
There could be some long par 4s, and I think that'll be interesting to see how the likes of Poulter play those versus somebody like Dustin or Rory.
Yeah, so that brings me into one of my key stats is the approach proximity from 175 to 200 because you're going to have a lot of long iron shots in based on the long holes and the long course itself.
Okay.
One of my others is obviously going to be putting. If it is anything like Augusta, you're going to have to hit it to a quadrant, and you're going to have a decent putter to win.
Yeah.
The other couple things, the driving distance, birdies, and then what we always talk about with birdies and bogeys avoided. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we are talking DraftKings, and you have to score.
Yeah.
And avoiding bogeys and putting up birdies is the easiest way to score, right?
Yeah.
So
you're never going to win a tournament making pars. Not at this level.
No,
it's just not
and not at this time of year.
Yeah, you've got to be able to go low when you need to, and I think the course is going to play tough from what I understand, but you're still going to have to go out and make several birdies around to be.
Got a feel for how low you think the winning score is going to be?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go winning score is going to be 8 under.
Let's just say, and we hit it last week at minus 21,
Yes.
so kudos to us. I was thinking 8 to 12. I'm gonna hedge a little bit and go 10 or 11, probably 11. Just these guys are, those commercials. These guys are good.
Yes.
These are good, and these are the best of the best. So I think it's going to be lower than even. I mean, it's not going to be a U.S. Open out there.
No,
not even going to be the PGA Championship this year when it was hard. So. Over 4 rounds, they're going to get to double digits, I feel.
I would think so. The only thing I think that might slow them down a little bit is course knowledge.
Sure.
That plays a big part into some
and if
of
the
these
greens
guys
are
and the way they're
tricky,
playing.
then that could, play a part in that.
It could. I don't know with 100% certainty what the grass on the green is. I've heard several different reports.
From what I can understand, it's some variation of Poe. So
that could
Poa.
be interesting.
So
We'll see. I've heard bent. I've heard Poe. If it's bent, it's gonna be they're gonna be fast.
I think they're going to be fast anyway. As well manicured as that course looks, and if they pride themselves as an Augusta type, it's got to be fast.
And
for
it's
these
been
guys.
dry up there.
Well, it's been dry everywhere. So
Yeah.
And
There's no rain in the forecast. Perfect weather for the week. 70s.
So tell me your categories, and we'll dive right in.
So, like I said earlier, I'm not a big stats guy as far as looking at the stats and saying, oh, this guy pops on this one. I like to look at them to verify what I feel. But I looked at strokes gained off the tee.
Yep.
Overall proximity. Mm-hmm. Strokes gained around the green, and birdies. Like we talked earlier, you got to have birdies to do well. And with the distance that they're going to be hitting their second shots from, your greens in regulation is not going to be huge by everybody.
Right.
Somebody's going to have to scramble really well to put up some decent scores. So,
and with the bunkers, there's a lot of bunkers guarding these greens. So you're going to have to
could be a great category to look at, and I may go back and do that and look. Like you, I've made my lineups already. I've changed them a few times. I had one player, we'll talk about him in a little bit, that was in 6 of my lineups, and he's now in 0 of my lineups. He brought some good points forward, and I thought about it a little bit more, and I looked at the stats, and the stats told me what I was feeling was wrong.
Yeah.
And so I went with the stats on this, and we'll see how it works. It may come up and bite me in the butt, but it may be a good call. We'll find out.
Sure.
With that being said, we can break down the field a little bit and go from there now that we know the stats we're looking at. Let's look at the top tier guys.
Yeah, so the top 5, Hideki, Ricky, Jordan, Rory, and Dustin. I think the first thing that pops out is the first thing that you saw. I saw the things, I screenshotted, I texted you, and I was like, wow, look at this. Hideki and Ricky above Jordan, Rory, and Dustin.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time that's happened.
I don't know. I think for good reason, though.
What? Yeah, I mean, if you look at...
especially with Matsuyama.
Yeah, and if you look at recent form, and honestly, for all 4 majors this year, my pick to win was either Hideki or Ricky.
Yeah.
Obviously, neither of them won any of the majors.
Yeah.
But they were there in a lot of them.
Yeah, they weren't far behind.
And their form's great, and it's only a matter of time before they win some big stuff. And looking at the field, I like both of them a lot. I liked Ricky a lot this week going in, just because of the driving distance, the way he kind of cuts the ball a little bit, his birdies and things like that. And so I was not as eager to see him the second highest, but he will be my top core guy.
Yeah, okay.
And then followed by Hideki. Then we can get down to Jordan, Rory, and Dustin. I like Dustin out of those 3. Jordan finds a way to win everywhere, but it's not a bomber paradise. He likes Augusta. I just don't have a feeling for him. And Rory is a complete fake. I don't like his game. I don't like his putting. I don't like the fact he was injured and may not even come to this. He's a complete fade. I think the odds are better for him to miss the cut than to win. And I can't roster a top tier guy that may miss the cut.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I have one lineup with
Just protecting your ass.
just protecting it to see, and I may change it.
Yeah.
I'll watch what the interviews are and kind of see how he's feeling. I know I like to call it his riblet is hurting him.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he is actually hurt enough to really affect him. Like he said, he goes, I might not be 100%, but I'm a high enough percentage to win.
Sure.
And these guys know their bodies and what they're capable
he can
of.
show up to any event and win.
And that's the thing. I would hate to not have him in one and just fail miserably because we thought he was hurt or we didn't think he was putting well. Because he's one of the few guys in here that could come out and be in horrible, horrible form and win the tournament the next week.
As long as he's not going to win if his putter doesn't show up.
Well, he's probably going to bring 10 or 12 putters and use 6 of them on the practice green right before he
change
goes
his
out.
putting grip twice. But we do know one thing. He's going to bring that driver.
He's going to be probably way down the fairways. His proximity is going to be a lot closer than everybody else's. That may help him.
It may, but he scares me enough to completely fade him. And if he wins, I'll tip my hat and hope my other 5 guys finish in the top 10, and I still make some money.
It's not a bad bet. As far as the top guys go, I did a little differently than you did. I've spread them out over a few of those guys. I have a few Masiamas, a couple Fowlers. I like Spieth. I think Spieth is going to do really well at this tournament. I just feel that's one of my feelings I've got. Dustin Johnson's another one. I know there's not a lot of people.
Butter cut in this distance, everything goes right.
And that could play well for him at this course. I just think he was on such a high. There's a lot riding, something that not a lot of people are talking about, but Player of the Year. He comes out and wins one of these events. He's got Player of the Year locked up.
No way.
Well, who else is going to do it?
JT. He's won 4 times, including out in Hawaii. He shot a 59. He's got a major. How many has DJ won?
I think 3. I think at least 3. And it may be. It may be that if JT has a good round, a good week this week, and maybe another one going forward, he does win Player of the Year. But I don't think Dustin Johnson's.
Dustin's won 2.
Okay, he's won 2.
And JT's won 4, including a major.
Clearly JT has it right now.
DJ didn't even play the Masters.
No, but what happens if Dustin Johnson? What happens if DJ comes out and wins this week and wins the Tour Championship?
Well,
that's clearly going to be.
He can make a run, but I think Justin is in the clubhouse with the lead.
Oh yeah, he's definitely in there watching right now.
Sure.
But I think Dustin Johnson could be one of the guys that gives him a run for money in the Player of the Year.
FedEx Cup, JT's second going into this whole thing. So, he's obviously had a good year.
Oh, he's had a great year.
And Dustin's was derailed in Augusta.
Yeah.
And
Will Slip cost him a lot of.
Hey, we've all been there. We've all fallen downstairs with socks on.
It's happened.
So
I'm looking at my lineup here. I have Dustin in 4 lineups.
I have Dustin in 4 as well. I have
Fowler in 6.
I have Ricky in 7 and Dustin and Hideki both with 4, and then Spieth with only 2 and Rory with 0. So that's my gut. That's what I'm going with the top tier. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but I feel like I had a core of guys that were pretty low, in the 7,400 to 7,000.
There's a lot of good guys down there.
There's 3 or 4 or 5 guys that I really like, and they're in a lot of my lineups, and that allows me to spread out the top guys a little bit and start with. And I don't. There's some fields that I like, stars and scrubs, and that's this one. Yeah. And there's some fields where I want the middle guys, and I don't want any of the top, and I don't want any part of the bottom.
I just want to stay right in the middle.
But this week, they're all good, like we said. So we just got to find some guy that's going to get hot at the bottom, and there's some really good values, in my opinion, down in the lower 7,000s,
Sure,
which
sure.
allows you to go with two guys at the top, either one of the top tier and then what I call top tier 2, or even two of the lower tiers at the top. So it just depends on how you want to go. But my opinion is stars and scrubs this week.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I do have the majority of my lineups that route.
Yeah.
I do have a couple, though, that are that middle tier core.
I have, and we'll get to it, but in the 9 to 7,600, I got like two guys at all. Like,
Really?
There's nobody in that middle that I want any part of.
See,
this
one
week.
thing they might be a little bit lower than that middle tier, more towards that bottom tier, is a lot of those guys are going to come out with more fight in their game than these top 100 players or top 70 players.
Yeah.
Because it's top 70 or 75 that go to the next round.
week. Yeah.
So the guy who's sitting in 100,
He's got to go.
He's fighting for his life.
And that's the only thing that made last week's worth watching.
Yeah.
Watch it.
What's his name? They hit the hole-in-one.
Yeah,
the
Flores.
par birdie.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he didn't do that, he's been sitting at home watching.
Well, and then J.J. Henry birdied, shot like a really low score, birdied the last couple holes and sat there, and he was in when they interviewed him, and then he went out, and then he went back in when somebody bogeyed the last hole. I mean,
it's pretty neat. It's fun to watch.
It made the and those guys, we don't talk about it, but they're fighting for their jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, J.J. Henry said, I'm exempt in a couple events and I'll play quite a bit next year. And then Harold Varner said, this is for my card. I don't have any exemptions left. If I don't get in, then I have to go to web.com next year.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But it's more fun.
You should not feel bad for these guys because they're making a lot of money. It's not like they're fighting for their job to put food on the table.
No. But it's way better lifestyle and paychecks in the big leagues and the PGA than the web. So that's
it's McDonald's fry cook, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a McDonald's fry cook versus a McDonald's CEO.
Absolutely.
That's the difference between the PGA Tour and the web.com.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite that much.
Oh, I bet it is.
Well, we'll see. But I think
there's $10 million to the winner of the FedEx Cup.
What is $36 million in the Tour Championship this year in prize pool?
Web.com gets what, like 100,000?
I know.
Maybe $1 million?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
all right. Back, we jumped off course, so let's go back. Have you covered all your top guys that you want to cover?
Yeah, like I said, Fowler is going to be my big guy. I like Spieth to win it from this group, and we'll cover some more of our winner picks later, but I like Spieth out of this, but I've only got him in 2 lineups. I don't know why I've done that. I just feel like that's where he needs to be right now. I've got 1 share of Rory to cover my butt.
Okay.
That's about it from that.
So we only have 5 probably. Henrik, Jason Day, Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, and Paul Casey in the 9,000s.
I don't know if I'm going to regret saying this or not, but the biggest name that sticks out to me there is Jason Day.
I like every single one of these golfers.
Oh, I like them. I like them all. But how many people...
I like them all this week.
How many people for the PGA said Jason Day wasn't going to do anything? Said, don't pick him. He's not worth your time.
And
everybody?
And his form is good.
And what
other than his driver, so if he can straighten out his driver, he's on his way back to being elite. And elite doesn't put him in 9,000.
No, he should be. If he plays well this week, I think next week he'll be 10 plus.
Yeah.
So I think now is the time to take him at 9.7 and see what he does. He surpassed everybody's expectations at the PGA.
Mm-hmm.
I know I didn't have any of them. I don't think.
And I mean, he was very low on. I think at the top 10 guys, the top tier, and then this tier, he'll be the lowest owned guy.
I think so.
I think
Paul Casey might be a little bit lower.
I think he's going to be chalky, man. I think he's going to be in the 20,000 or 20%.
He might be. I just don't see it.
He makes cuts.
He makes a lot of cuts,
and he finishes high. Out of his last 10 events, he hasn't finished below 24th.
He does well. I won't.
I mean, if you can guarantee me in the $9,000 price range a made cut and a top 25, I'll take 6 of them and go home.
Oh, sure.
And that's what he's.
But he doesn't have the name recognition as Jason Day, Hendrik Stenson, Justin Thomas. The majority of people.
So the casual owner, I think,
is going to look at that and say, "Let's go Jason Day," or Hendrik Stenson because he just won,
or Justin Thomas just won.
They're going to look at those names.
Brooks Koepka has a huge year. So yeah, you may be right.
I typically am.
So I think a lot of the top guys are going to be a little chalky and a little owned, if you will.
Oh yeah. I think for sure.
So that's where I'm going to differentiate and spread it kind of over the top 10 guys. I won't, like I said, own any Rory, but I will own the other 9 guys at the top. Stenson being the other less, and only 2 of Spieth. So not a ton of those, but Koepka a ton of, Paul Casey a ton of, Jason Day 4, probably 4 shares where he's on par with Hideki and Dustin.
Okay. I know I have a couple Stenson, a couple Thomas, a couple Koepkas, and a few days. I think I have 1 or 2 Paul Casey's. I think he's going to score me some points. I think he's going to make a cut. He's a cut man.
You have 1 Paul Casey.
Yeah. So I have 1 Paul Casey, and I guarantee you he'll make the cut. That's a safe bet because he's made, 15 of 16 cuts? I was just looking at, he's made 15 of 16 cuts. The one thing I don't like about him in this event, 4 top 10s. That's all he's had in the last 16 events is 4 top 10s. But that's good. But when we're looking at the likes of 120, 125 of the best players, 4 top 10s isn't going to put you at the top of the field.
But then you got to also look at, out of those same 16 events, 12 of them have been top 25s.
Yeah,
So, and we're kind of splitting hairs here, I think, because
I think we are. But you look at there's only 5 guys there at that $9,000 range, and they're all worth owning.
Every one of them.
I can't find an argument to not own any of them.
No,
especially to me, Paul Casey I think is slightly high priced compared to some of the other guys.
Well, going into the Open, he was at like 8,400, 8,600, so he's up higher than that.
How many wins does Casey have this year?
Probably none.
Probably none. 0 wins. How many does Koepka have?
How many? The Open, right?
How many does Thomas have?
U.S. What?
How many does Thomas have?
4.
Okay. How many does Jason Day have in the last?
Thomas only has 3.
What's Jason Day have? What's his
0?
But what's his overall for the year?
He's only got 3 top 10s all year. But he's been battling a lot of stuff, both personally and with his family, and nobody's going to argue that Jason Day's been in Jason Day form.
No, he definitely has been. But that's my case for Paul Casey is for me the hardest to pick at $9,000+, and everybody else is to me a lock in there at that $9,000.
Well, so that's where I go with a lot of the top and then a lot of the bottom, and then this next group we're going to talk about very, very few. And I know you in the next group you love Patrick Reed. I got 2 shares of him.
I do, and I'll tell you what I did. I had 6 shares of Rahm.
Yep.
And just before we recorded this, I went from 6 shares to no shares. You brought out some interesting points. I don't know if you have it up still to what his last few rounds have been. How many weeks has he played in the last 12 weeks?
I don't have that, but he's only played the U.S. he went overseas and he played Rory's Irish Open.
Yep.
And he won it.
Yep.
Then he had the Open Championship T44. Wasn't in contention. Then he didn't play until the Bridgestone. He was T28, nothing fabulous. And then he played the PGA, T56, and then he took last week off. So he's only played 4 times in the last month and a half.
How many times has he played in the FedEx Cup playoff?
He played some last year. Did he make the playoff last year?
I don't think he did.
I know he came on the tour late, so he may not have made the...
And I think we're getting to that point in the tour where you can weigh heavily on experience going into playoffs.
I also think, you know, people talk about, like in the NBA, how a rookie goes into playing an 82-game season, and it's the first time that they've played that many games. And in college, you play 30. If you're Kentucky, 36, right?
I hate Kentucky.
I do too. Go IU.
That's right.
But, so then when you go to NBA, you're playing 50 more games. Well, he's now playing the tour, and he's played a lot of events this year.
Yeah.
And I think, in my personal opinion, he's hitting a little bit of a wall.
That's probably true.
I love Rom, and I've been a big backer, and he's made me a lot of money in DraftKings in his first year plus. But now he's going into the FedEx Cup, 6th in the ranking. His price is one of the top in the world, and I think he's hitting a wall, personally.
I agree.
So I think I will stay away from him probably the rest of the FedEx Cup, unless, I mean, if he wins this week, then I'd be stupid not to look at him next week.
Yeah.
But I don't. He's a complete fade for me this week.
See, I think I'm going to leave him out of everything this week and see how he does. And if he does well, top 10, maybe top 15, I may pick him up next week. I, like you, may leave him out the rest of the year just to keep myself safe because I do think he's hitting a wall of some sort. You know, these guys are very well conditioned to play golf, and they have the stamina to do all of that. But I do think
it's a mental grind.
He is mentally tired. I don't think he's playing the same golf he is right now as he was in the beginning.
In the summer.
And right now is when you have to be playing your best golf. And if you're not coming into this event playing your best golf...
And there's others that are.
Yes, there are others that are playing their best. Jason Day is probably playing the best golf this year.
I mean, if you look at it, he's got 8 top 10s and Jason Day has 3. And there's no question that Jason Day's playing better than Rahm going into this tournament.
Yeah.
And their salaries are...
Yeah, you look at 9-7 versus 8-9. I mean, DraftKings apparently thinks he's worth more than Rahm. So that's what I'm going to do with Rahm. I think, like you, I'm going to fade him. Nothing there. Anybody else? Like you said, I like Patrick Reed, not because he won the Northern Trust last year, because totally different course. He won at Bethpage, Black. I just think after the PGA, what do you do, T2? T2 2 weeks ago. I think he's going to do well this week. I feel like he's going to be... I don't know that he's going to win it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he's playing that strong yet, but I think he's going to be T5, T10 maybe.
So this is that area, that chunk that I was talking about earlier, that I like some guys, but I went high and low. So I won't have a ton of these guys. Yeah. If I'm going in this window, and I did with a few, I tended toward the Mark Leishmans. I think he's only missed 2 cuts all year. He's in pretty good form, and when we want to make cuts to get our money, and that's where at this I'm gonna make my money off my low guys, and I'm gonna save my butt with the main guy here, sure. And that's what I want to do with him. I want a safe bet right here in the middle, and to me, it's Mark Leishman.
Leishman's a good bet.
I think there's a lot of names around him like Cooch and Oosthuizen and Reed and Berger that are all going to have more shares. And so I can differentiate my lineup a little bit with Mark Leishman right here in the middle.
I think he'll probably be one of the lower-owned names in that. I mean, you got my boy Ollie Shenanigans in there.
Or Schneider Jans.
Yeah, I don't like that name as much.
So Kisner's right under him.
Yeah, I think I have one Kisner maybe. I'm looking here now, and I don't even see him. No, I don't think I took Kisner at all.
So the other guy in this window that I know you like, and that's all the 8,000s that I want to touch on. Is there anybody else in the 8,000s that you want to touch? You want to touch on Kuchar? Or
I do have some Kuchar. I feel like this could be a good event for him, even though it doesn't suit his game very well.
Yeah,
he's just steady Eddie. You know, he's going to make some birdies. He's going to chip away.
Cash cow, baby.
He's just going to chip away at that score every round, I feel. You know, par 70, I think he's going to turn into 69, 68, 2 or 3 times, go down to 5 or 6, and make cut and
top 20.
Top 20. So that's what I think of Cooch.
But I honestly think he's going to be owned in that area. That's why I want to go with Leishman instead of Cooch. I think they'll finish relatively the same.
Yeah, and so, I have. We'll see who does better because I have 1 Leishman and 5 Coochers. You have
probably the exact opposite. So 7 Leishmans and 0.
Okay, so
Coochers.
We'll find out because it's either going to make us or break us. It's going to make one of us.
Well, and my argument, I don't think it will.
I don't think so.
Because I think they'll both make the cut, and I think they'll both finish top 20.
But
top 25.
Out of Kuchar and Leishman, who do you think has a potential chance to finish higher overall?
I could make an argument for Leishman, but I see your point.
Yeah. So we'll move on down to
so 79 to let's go down to from 79 to maybe 74ish.
Okay.
Because that's where 74 I think is the interesting. Because then from 73 down to 7,000, there's a bunch of guys that I like.
Okay.
So let's go to 79. Starts with
my boy Charlie Hoffman. I've got 10 some shares of him.
10 shares.
10 shares of him.
So out of your 21 lineups, you got 10 shares of Hoffman.
Yep.
I can't argue it.
I don't think anybody can. And
I think last the week off helped him. He played 4 or 5 straight weeks, and he'd been great. But I think he needed a week off. I don't disagree. I think he's going to be good this week.
I would love to see him win this event.
He plays well at Augusta. If you're going to all that,
if you go by it looks like
hot.
Augusta.
He's hot right now. He plays Augusta well. I like him. I mean.
You think I should take less than 10?
No.
You like 10?
Nope. If you like him,
you
go all in. 2. So. I like other guys. We're going to get to them, and I have 2 guys with 13 shares.
Yeah.
And they're both lower than this.
So I know who you picked. So
I know you do.
And I've got 1. You have 13. I have 10 of the same guy. So tell me how you feel. I got 2 guys here I want to ask you about in this tier.
They're gonna both miss the cut.
Han and Haas.
Oh really?
So tell me how did
they
do you have any of them?
No, either of them. I didn't touch it. I like both of them, but after last week and this field particularly, I'm not touching either of them. I thought you were going with Mickelson.
No.
I
wanted to rub the Haas in a little bit because I don't know if anybody remembers, but last week I said stay away from Haas.
You did, and you won that one. Congratulations. You also said Summerhays was going to win it all. And he missed
if he made the cut, he had a chance.
All right.
I don't know if
all right, we digress. But Mickelson, I don't want any of either. He's been spraying that driver everywhere. It's interesting to see him way down here at 7,900.
Yeah.
When did you think the last time Phil was in the 7,000s?
I can't remember.
I've been playing for 3 or 4 years, and I don't remember.
I don't ever remember him that low. I do have 1 share of him because he's Phil Mickelson. Who knows what he's going to do?
And he could show up and win.
He could show up and actually win this event.
Yeah. Somebody I do have in this area is I do have 2 or 3 Cantlays. Patrick Cantlay.
Yep.
He's been playing really well. He makes all the cuts on the PGA Tour. At this point, I took a couple flyers. I could see him winning.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm not over betting on him.
No.
But I'm going to take a couple shares of him.
So one I see in here, I have 3 shares of him right now and may change this. Molinari. In the stats that I used this week, he's 4th. And for a guy that low, that cheap, to be 4th is pretty exciting because you can build a pretty,
You can save some money.
When he's considered one of your scrubs,
mm-hmm.
and he pops 4th on your categories, that's pretty good. Yeah. So I've got him in a few lineups with a couple bigger names. I think I've got him one lineup where I have, and this was an off-the-wall one, but I think I've got him, Dustin Johnson, and Ricky Fowler all in one lineup, and then a couple.
And he allows you to do that.
Yeah, that's what's nice about Molinari down that low, is he gives you the opportunity try a few different lineups that you can't really do with some of the other guys. But that's what they had to do with 125 of the best players.
Yeah,
that's what makes this.
I thought the pricing
fun.
was overall pretty soft compared to the field. I expected it to be more like a major with the top guys in the 12 and even 13,000.
I'm surprised there were no $12,000 guys.
So the fact that they must think that these, top 5, 6, 8 guys are all relatively the same. Couple guys from last week that we liked that are in the field again this week is Duffner and Webb Simpson. You got any use for either of those?
I've got some Simpson. I think he played well. I like Duffner. I think I've got a couple shares of him. I got 4 shares of Duffner. Simpson, I've got 6 shares of. One guy in here that I may look at a little harder is Lahari. Mm-hmm. He played pretty well last year. A dark horse I have, and I think I have 2 shares of him, is Steve Stricker.
I actually have 2 shares of Steve Stricker. He's made a lot of cuts, and he's regarded widely as one of the best putters on the tour.
Yeah.
Now he's 50-some. He can play on the senior tour. 50 exactly, I think. He just had that this year. And he's playing full-time on the PGA. So he's not the longest hitter in the world.
But he can putt. He can do other things.
He
reminds me of a Kuchar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to win. I don't expect to see him go out and throw up a 64, 63. But I think he could shoot a few 68s and be top 15, top 20.
Yep. All right, so keep going down. There's not a ton of people I like in here. I do like Jamie Lovemark. He pops really well on my my models. It's surprising to see Bubba down here at 73.
Yeah.
I won't have any.
I've got a couple. For the fact that it's a Bombers course. And if he's hot, and it's Augusta.
Light.
Of the North. Augusta Light. We're going to call it the Augusta Light.
Okay.
Instead of Crystal Light.
Whatever. All right. So 7,300 comes to my favorite play and your favorite play this week.
Absolutely. And he's my big break guy.
If you watch our podcast for any length of time, you're going to know we are a pro Tony Finau podcast.
Yes. We love him. I remember watching him. I don't know how long ago he was on there.
Yeah.
But he has grown into a tremendous player. I think at 7,300 he is
grossly
horribly
mispriced.
I would still pick him at 8,500, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even higher.
So, Bomber, great form. He's at $7,300. What you said you could do with, the guys in the 7.6s, 7.9s, $300 more lets you, So, I love Finau. I have 13 of my 23 shares of Finau.
The one thing that scares me from Finau, and it shouldn't really scare you, but it kind of, I don't know that he can close the deal right now. He's not had any wins this year. I think he's capable of winning. I don't know if he's going to win a playoff event.
I think he's primed to do it. But also, at 73...
You don't need him to win.
You don't need him to win. So,
but how nice would it be for a $7,300 guy to win him in your lineup?
I'll be a little jealous because, I think he's chalky. I think he'll be 30% owned.
He should be largely owned.
I'm probably 80% on him, 60% on him. He'll be overall at 30% owned probably. I really like him, and I'm willing to pay and eat the chalk for him.
Oh yeah, because I think he's a cuts guy. I don't know that he's gonna win, but I think he's gonna.
We'll get to winners later, and I'll say. So, 73. There's a couple people down to 77,000. So 2 more guys. So like I said, I liked a couple guys high in Ricky and Hideki a little bit, some Dustin maybe, and then a lot down here. Finau I love, Gary Woodland I love,
Yep.
And I like me a lot of Ian Poulter at $7,000.
I've definitely got some Poulter at 7,000.
Those are my 3 highest owned guys, and they're all in the 7,000 or 7,300.
Yeah, you said you own 13 Finals.
For 13 Finals and 13 Woodlands.
So I own 10 Finals, 7 Poulters, and then
I have 7 Poulters as well.
4 Woodlands, and there's another guy on here I like, and I own 2 of him right now. That's JB Holmes.
Okay.
He's a hitter.
I ain't mad at you.
He's a hitter. Like I said, he's not going to win. I don't think he's going to win.
He could have, if you were a betting guy, you could take Thursday leader with him.
Oh, he'll be top 10 Thursday.
But
he might even go into the weekend top 15. But I don't think he's going to win.
Handle. So, that's where...
he's good off the tee. He's 16th off the tee in my stats, 71st in proximity, 37th in birdies. So, he's a guy that I feel like is going to make the cut. And at $7,200, that's all you're praying for is a cut.
A little bit more this week since there's not that many people missing the cut. But I understand.
I think my biggest concern with some of these players that are above him and I would say probably looking at the player, probably the 8,000 and up range. Most of those players, it doesn't matter if they make the cut. It doesn't matter. They're going to the next round regardless.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the FedEx Cup standings pulled up right now. I'll pull them up real quick while we're talking. But I feel like some of these players down low in these $7,000, $7,300, they're coming out and they're fighting for their life, and they're going to give more people a run for their money this week than they have in weeks before, because every tournament means something. But this is, like they say in March for basketball, this is win or go home for some of these guys, and I think that's going to play a lot into it.
So that's the top 7,000 players. Now, unlike last week when we thought that
JB Holmes, not to interrupt, but JB Holmes is looks like he's 82nd right now, so he's got to do something.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I like him.
Okay. So sorry, we'll go back. 7,000 and up.
Okay.
Unlike last week, we thought somebody in the 6,000s might win. Several of them might come. And after day 1, 9 in the first 10, we're at 7,000 or lower.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. But this week, I don't anticipate anybody or that many people down below 7,000s competing.
7,000 and below, the only chance is Poulter, in my opinion. Woodland maybe, but once you get below that...
Mm-hmm. There's a couple guys that I like that I'm going to roster very few shares of. Kind of like Kevin Na, I'm going to have a couple of. Reevy, I'll have a couple of.
I think I've got a couple of Tways.
Charles Schwartzel, I feel like he's really underpriced at $6,900. So
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't really want to go through a ton of these. So while we're down here, pick our punts. Tell me 2 guys
Okay.
that if you had to roster this week below 7,000, who would they be? And give me one guy that you think has a shot at winning it.
Below 7,000.
Below 7,000.
Okay. One I'm going to roster, because I have him rostered, is Charles Howell.
Yep. I think he's the chalkiest guy of all of this.
Always
down here.
Yep. I think the second guy I would roster, and I have 3 players in this category. Charles Howell, Tway, and Luke List.
So Luke List is interesting because I have him in one. If you're playing a GPP and you need to differentiate yourself on a guy that's a boomer or bust, that's Luke List.
Yeah.
He can bomb it. My guy in that category is Brendan Hagee.
Okay, yeah.
I have 2 shares of Hagee just because if he does win, I'm probably guaranteed some money that week.
On your categories, tell me how List does on yours, because I'm looking at him here on strokes gained off the tee, proximity, around the green, strokes gained, and birdies. and he pops as 50th overall, but he's 6th in strokes gained off the tee, 63rd in around the green, and 59 in birdies.
So in mine, he's 106th.
Okay.
So his bogey avoidance is 120th.
So,
His putting is 120th. So
he better drive
his
the green and
distance-
3-putt par.
his distance driving is 7th. He's a bomber. His birdies is 87, so he does birdie his fair share.
Yeah.
But
so he may make. How many rounds are you looking at past history?
24.
Okay, I'm looking at 36. One thing that would be interesting to see, because we don't know yet, is actually how wide these fairways are and what the rough is like.
Right. And
If
there's
we go
some
into
mixed.
this
There's
with-
some mixed reports on
Yes,
if you're off the fairway, you're dead. If you're off the fairway, it's no big deal.
And that will be interesting, because if it's off the fairway and you're okay, it brings a lot more players into the game.
Sure.
And that's where I think a Luke List could come into play if the fairways are extremely wide and the rough is very playable. He comes into play.
So we were talking on my model. Luke List was 106. On the flip side, Haggy, my guy in this range, is 46th. So he's still not,
He's,
popping off the charts, but he's, $6,700 for a reason. So he's my guy in the very bottom, just to boom or bust is Haggy.
okay.
So then let's go to.
So that's your winner from that. If anybody were to win it from 69 and below,
If
if you had to place a $50 bet.
And he's going to pay a lot better than maybe Reevy out of that group.
So here, I've got one for you, and this is my guy. I like those guys I just named, but if anybody is going to pull it out, and I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to play well.
Woo! Kim?
No. But that was pretty good. Is Mr. Bryson DeChambeau.
So where is he? Like 69?
6,900.
So if you're going in 69, which I guess we were, but Brendan Grace is right
Now,
there.
I don't know why.
Billy Horschel's right there.
Well, he's won one of these. He's won the FedEx Cup.
Kokrak is right there.
But
Cameron Smith is right there.
DeChambeau will be a top 10 or a miscut. That's it. Those are his only two options this week, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm leaning toward this cut.
That's where I'm leaning.
Yeah.
But if I had to place a $5 bet on any of these guys down here, I'm going to go DeChambeau.
Okay. So before the podcast, we decided that we're going to pick kind of winners in each level.
Yep.
So let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Which was 79 to 7,000. So that's a big one. I like a lot of guys in there.
Yep.
I'm picking Finau. He's, to me, the best guy, the most underpriced in this category. He's probably the chalkiest, to be honest. So, but he's my pick to win out of this group.
It's a good pick. I think he has a lot of potential. I went a little bit lower than that and went with Poulter.
I like Poulter. I have 7 or 8 shares of Poulter. So we're on board there.
Yeah, I think he's gonna dissect this course well. He's not super long off the tee, but he's accurate.
What was that stat about misses left? So we were talking about all the trouble that's left. Out of bounds, trees, fairways, and fantasynational.com there you can customize your model, and one of them is avoids misses left. And what did Poulter rank on that?
I think he was like
second or third or something?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now, and I'll tell you exactly what it was.
So if you're reading into these stats and how the course is set up, maybe Poulter does miss everything right, and he
stays safe
and
with the right
stays
miss.
safe, and he wins it. I mean, I hope so. I have him in a lot of lineups, but
Poulter is second in avoiding missing left. Reevy is first. Leishman is third.
Oh, there you go.
So there's your Leishman.
And I have some Reevy down in the bottom too. So
okay.
The next group then would be we made it from 9,000 all the way down to 7,000 just because there's only 10 guys in that group.
8 to 9.
Well, okay. So, who do you have in the 8 to $8,000 dollar range?
I'm gonna go with Patrick Reed.
Okay. So you're gonna go back with Patrick to defend the Northern Trust. Out of this group, I like Brooks Koepka.
Okay.
Bomber had a great year. He's in really good form. I think winning the U.S. Open just gave him so much more confidence that he didn't need any more confidence, but I think it gave him a lot more that he can close in big fields with good players. So I think the Ryder Cup actually started that, and that's what propelled him into this good year. That, and he's back from that nasty ankle injury that plagued him last year. So he's good. And so if you're asking me to pick somebody in that group, I'm picking Brooks.
Okay.
So then it goes to our top tier.
Your big dogs.
The top 1 and 2 tiers, really.
Yep.
And who do you got winning out of that?
Right now I have Spieth.
Okay. I like Spieth. I just don't think he's going to be there. But again, I wouldn't be surprised come Sunday if Spieth
can win anywhere. It doesn't matter the course conditions, the length, doesn't matter. I think Spieth is going into this. If I could just predict how he's going into this, I think he's going into this of the mindset, I'm going to beat everybody in the next 4 tournaments and no one is going to stop me.
Okay.
That's what I feel he is. I feel some of these players don't have the killer instinct Spieth has. I feel like Spieth has a killer instinct to him that, I feel like Dustin's got that, Rory's got that, but neither of them are playing on the form as Spieth is. So that's my pick. Spieth. A dark horse from this is Jason Day.
Yeah.
Hasn't done anything. He's one below, but in that top, he might do something.
He might. My guy's Ricky.
Yeah, you're a big Ricky fan this week.
I think Ricky's going to win it.
I'd like to see him win. I wouldn't be mad if he won it.
Yeah.
I love Ricky Fowler. I just want to see him win a major more.
I do too. And unfortunately, we don't have one of those until April. So the next biggest event is this week. Yeah. So I root for him in all big events. But aside from that, I think his game fits this course.
I think so.
He's putting well. He's driving well. So my overall winner is going to go in the top 2, and I think it's Ricky.
Okay.
So, do you have you think so?
No, I don't.
Who do you think? You think Spieth?
I think Spieth.
So, given the entire field, you take one guy and I'll take one guy, and you think it's Spieth?
I think it's Spieth.
I think it's Ricky this week.
Okay.
So, and we could both be.
We could both be wrong.
I don't think either of them is going to miss the cut. So
I would hope not.
Yeah. All right. So, busts, guys to stay away from. I've covered it a little bit. I'm staying away from Rory. I'm staying away from Rahm.
I am 100% on board with those two. I don't recognize anybody else. I don't have any Rose.
His form's not good.
Haas.
I don't have any Kisner.
Staying away from Kisner. I'm staying away from. These are guys I just don't feel that are going. I think they're going to play well.
They don't have a shot.
But there are other people in those categories that are doing better, playing better, coming into a tournament that you have to be playing good to win.
I completely agree. So then, the last thing we have is kind of our core players. We've kind of covered it. Mine are going to be Ricky, Woodland, Finau, and Koepka, and a little bit of Poulter. Those 7,000 guys, and then a couple of the top guys.
Yeah,
and Ricky, I think, is going to and the problem is a lot of these guys are going to be chalky this week.
Yeah, everybody's going to own them.
So
they're big names. They're playing well.
Yeah. So
my core goes with Charlie Hoffman, Finau, Poulter, and was Rahm, but now Reed.
Okay.
Those are my core guys.
Okay.
And the fact that I think you can get some really good core guys with Hoffman and Finau at those prices, I mean, you could build some pretty stout lineups around those guys.
Yep. That's what happens when the best of the best.
I know. It'll be interesting to see the pricing next week.
Yeah. And then next week, it's gonna be crazy to watch some of these pricings with no cut, only 70 of the best. So it'll be fun. I'm excited. It's a great time of year for golf, finishing up before football's kicking in. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll be
tuned in all weekend.
I'll be glued to the TV.
Yep.
It'll be an exciting week. Hopefully it's not a runaway. I hope it's goes to the last hole again. That's always fun to watch those.
Yeah, I'm actually not.
Unless all of my guys,
yeah.
unless one of my lineups are 1 through 6, I want them to blow it out. But if I'm not in it, I want it to be a good game, a good round. It's like basketball. If you're not betting on a team,
you just want a good game.
You want to see a good game.
All right, that just about wraps it up. A couple housekeeping things. If you like us, you want to keep hearing us, hit the like button below. Subscribe so you see us. We've been doing this on a Tuesday night. I think next week we're going to try to do it on Monday night, get it out a little bit earlier in the week, give you guys some time to do some research. Other than that, any final words?
No, if anybody has any questions or wants to get a hold of us, comment or send us an email. I think our email's somewhere in the description, somewhere, somehow.
It is actually, our email is fantasygod721@gmail.com. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and email us there. You can comment below. We do look at that, and we're excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we've only got a few more big ones coming up, but we'll do them all.
Yep, so. We're excited. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.
Take care. He's busy.
Lemon squeezy.
That one was an hour.
Yeah.